Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to attention with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Board, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda for October 20th, 2022 as presented.
So second.
Janet and Patrick. And then everybody that's in the audience, I'd just like to acknowledge I'm taking Mayor's position tonight because she cannot be here. She is attending one of her daughter's events, and that took priority over tonight. And I also want to make another acknowledgement. We have a new superintendent that we announced last Friday. I know the board is very excited. I'm sure the school district as a whole is excited. He has far exceeded our expectations thus far and is well deserved of this new promotion. So thank you. All right, on to special recognitions. I'm sorry, do we not vote? Sorry, we have to then vote all in favor of the agenda. Say aye.
Aye.
It passes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zigmeyer. Tonight we have the honor of recognizing two groups of high-performing students across the district who have earned national academic honors. We're going to start by celebrating our AP Scholars with Distinction. Every fall, the Advanced Placement Program recognizes high school students who have demonstrated outstanding college-level achievement through their performance on multiple AP exams. Nationwide, only about 10% of students earn the distinction of AP Scholar or higher by the time they graduate, and to earn the top level award is an even greater feat. A total of 258 Francis House students were named AP Scholars for the 2021-22 school year, and 84 of those at the highest level, AP Scholar with Distinction. Well, some of those students have graduated. They were seniors last year, but we are fortunate tonight to have many of those scholars in attendance with us. Please help me welcome Principal Dr. Dave Wedlock to the podium to recognize AP Scholars with Distinction from Francis Howell High School.
Okay, so when I read your name, come on up and get a handshake and a certificate. Zachary Avram. Graham Black. Graham is also a National Merit Commended student. Colin Lewis. Tanvi Lamada. And Vitha McKenna. Ethan Millam. Ethan's also National Merit Commended. Julia Pfeiffer. And the final Viking, Emma Schuler.
Squeeze in like this much. There you go, there you go. One more. Good job. All right, next I'd like to invite Mr. Mr. Jeff Fletcher, principal of Francis Howell North, to the podium to introduce scholars from his building.
We'll do the same thing. I'll hand out the certificate, shake your hand, and you can stand next to Dr. Rumpus. So first, Manisha Makutha Rupin. And Elizabeth Struble.
Wait, 1 second.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. And finally, I'll ask Dr. Suzanne Leek, interim principal of Francis Howell Central, to recognize our final group of AP scholars with distinction.
Good evening. Zane Bari. Maya Bowen. Liam Naktra. Trevor Nichols. Braden Pedrati. Matthew Tierney. Kaylee Wright.
Right, the next group of students we are recognizing this evening all have one thing in common. They were recently named National Merit Semifinalists. Francis Howell is proud to announce that 5 district students have been named semifinalists in this year's National Merit Scholarship Program. The semifinalists, who were selected based on scores on a PSAT qualifying test, will compete for National Merit Scholarships worth more than $31 million. Their scores place them in the top 1% of the more than 4 million students that take the PSAT each fall. And with that, I'd like to invite our high school administrators all at one time to come to the podium to introduce our semifinalists. Your principals, once again.
For Francis Howell Central, we have 2 students who are named National Merit Semifinalists, both of who are on the golf team, and they are also celebrating this evening with their banquet. Our student that is not in attendance is Anna Maury, and our student who is here tonight is Caitlin Vogues.
We have 2 outstanding Vikings joining the party this evening, and they are Julia Pfeiffer and Trinity Young.
Howell North has 1 National Merit Semifinalist, Manisha Makutha Rupin.
All right, now I'll turn it over to Francis Howell Union Principal Rob Goff to introduce your student board representative for this evening.
Sorry. Good evening. It's my pleasure to present Ryan Meisner, who's our representative for Francis Isle Union for the board tonight. Ryan is the son of Jeff and Debbie Meisner. He's a Francis Isle Union student who has attended Francis Isle School District his entire career. Following a path of Becky David, Hollenbeck Middle, Francis Isle North, and now Union. Ryan's been a model student here at Union. Since the start, his calm and respectful demeanor from the moment he walks in the room is noticed by all. He always greets you and inquire about how your day is, despite how he's feeling at that particular moment. Ryan decided to make the change to come to Union and get caught up on his credits and just move on. When asked about the best part of Union, he replied, in one word, independence. He said it's the best group of school staff he has ever had in all his years of school because they care about him and explain the expectations, encourage him to meet it and help him with the struggles he comes with that day. He explained Union is a place where all kids actually want to succeed. If you need help there, you can get it. Due to dealing with his chronic migraines over the years, Ryan has gotten behind, but will finish high school and begin his post-secondary education, hopefully in the field of neurology. So it's my pleasure to introduce Ryan Meisner.
Welcome, Ryan. Miss Janet there will help you with your tablet so you can follow along. You can participate in the meeting. You can do everything that we do, you just can't vote. All right?
All right, next on our agenda is a best practice presentation about the Innovate program at Fairmount Elementary. I'll turn it over now to Dr. Sherry Oliver and Dr. Julie T. Meyer.
Good evening, and thank you, Mrs. Joels, and thank you, board. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It is with great excitement that we have this opportunity to share with you something that is making a difference at Fairmount Elementary School. Tonight we are going to share with you Innovate, a teacher-driven best practice aligned with the technology philosophies that support our teachers in implementing innovative practices to engage students in their classrooms. We are here tonight to share this model with you in hopes that we can spread this amazing model of teaching and learning beyond Fairmount.
Perfect. Good evening. The journey. Let's go back about 2 years ago. Yes, it was a pandemic. Fairmount made a rather large turn through the pandemic as virtual learning forced us into an unknown territory of learning beyond what our experiences had provided us. It brought so much new learning to the forefront. Through the Fairmount virtual teachers, we discovered different levels of student engagement that could be implemented digitally. We also learned that more than ever, we had to differentiate the learning for virtual students to support their learning environments and learning accessibility. The virtual teaching team began to harness our learning and drive Fairmount into another direction with technology. We shifted our thinking from needing devices in a quantity mindset to now thinking, how can we innovate beyond surface level learning sites? And how can we use our resources to implement different levels of student engagement to take lessons to a high level of pedagogy? Our past technology professional development and areas of learning existed mostly with Google Classroom, Google Level 1 and 2 certifications. Although these are all great accomplishments, many of these resources and certifications built teachers' skill sets with organization and management of Google tools and docs, while allowing small steps with student choice, voice, and academic engagement. We were ready to take our staff learning to an area of higher technology integration. Our teachers that had acquired these certifications wanted more. As a result of our building mind shift, Innovate was organically created. The goal was to learn technology tools and strategies to help foster a one-to-one environment to enhance student learning. The vision was welcomed by our Innovate cohort of teachers. This was a professional learning cohort, open and optional to all building staff who had a drive for being different and stepping out of the classroom norm to take risks. The purpose of our Innovate work was to create a pathway for our teachers to learn how to enhance student learning in some of the following areas. Using technology integration to create resources such as flipped videos, digital learning boards, and lessons to help fill achievement gaps and be accessible to all student abilities, as well as using technology integration to create a classroom environment where every student has a connection to their learning and can become engaged with the curriculum and content at their own learning pace. Our next step in our journey was to base our learning off of a research-based model. As a team, we researched and learned among each other in this process. With ISTE teacher leadership, we accessed the International Society for Technology Education. Areas of focus in ISTE include digital citizenship, innovative designing, creative communicator, and empowering the learner. This learning was supported and facilitated by our current ISTE certified teachers, Mrs. Melissa Kirchhoff and Ms. Jessica Hensley, as well as myself. I want to acknowledge the high international certification that these teachers have acquired through ISTE and the leadership used to take our Innovate team to a higher level. They dedicated a full year of work and portfolio artifact submission to acquire this certification, and ISTE remains the foundational basis of our Innovate program. The other research-based practices that provide a foundation for our innovation practices are the TPAC model and the SAMR model, and these provide the technology pedagogy learning for our staff. Teachers are now asking, is this technology a substitution level with no change to learning, or is it at an augmented level that enhances student learning? How did we spread the learning at Fairmont Elementary? As our Innovate team learned and began to quickly become inspired, we wanted the same learning for all teachers in our building. The Innovate team created professional development learning boards for teachers. These boards focus on ISTE learning goals along with actions and resources to build their content base. This particular board is our level 1 board, and some activities include learning about the ISTE standards, joining a personal learning network, and evaluating your own digital citizenship practices. This is our level 2 learning board that teachers can take themselves through as well. And activities on this board go a deeper level, the design process, universal design to help meet student needs, and how to collaborate with students and teachers. Our level 3 learning board is currently in draft. Where are we now? Our new Innovate model has brought us to a whole new level of teaching at Fairmont. Teachers are finding innovation and joy in their lessons. They are sharing and collaborating among each other as their ideas grow. We now have 3 ISTE certified teachers, 4 teachers currently in the process of ISTE certification, 3 district technology ambassadors, and 3 staff members partnering with Washington University's STEM TQ program. The integration and passion is spreading like wildfire, you can say, and students are loving it. The Innovate team have also created Innovate lab sites for teachers to do peer walkthroughs. Our ISTE and technology teacher leaders have opened their rooms for teachers to walk through to see and learn in the moment of live innovative practices. Teachers can reflect with students on their learning paths, ask the teacher questions, and to see the tools and integration at first hand. After the lab site is over, teachers meet in a PLC for more reflection time.
The Fairmont Innovate model has truly opened the learning for our staff on a whole new level. Confidence is growing within our students, and they are truly becoming empowered learners. We plan on continuing to motivate our teachers to further their learning and certifications to make them powerful teachers. We will continue to provide our teachers with differentiated levels of professional development in the world of technology integration and opportunities to partner with their fellow teachers through the journey. Thank you for the opportunity to share our Fairmont best practices and our Innovate model. We welcome anyone and everyone that wants to come see the learning happening at Fairmont. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. All right, we're moving on to the public comments portion for tonight. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in order to sign up and speak in order of the sign up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken the time to come to this evening meeting, and we value your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect all speakers to remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. For your convenience, our 3-minute clock is ready. We'd like to welcome Jarrett Pillsbury.
Board, I was originally going to talk tonight about privacy and how it's something that we and our families, all families, should be able to enjoy without fear of some extremist organization and its members putting our names or our children's names on a list for whatever purpose because of a group we belong to or supports we seek. But after the admonition that Director Cook received for his teacher and librarian groomer list, I can't imagine anyone in the district would think doing that again would be tolerated. Instead, I'm going to focus tonight on a few good things, some important developments, and how we can take actions to continue on a successful path. So a couple good things. The Francis Howell School District recently announced Dr. Rumpus will be our new superintendent of schools. Congratulations, Dr. Rumpus. I'm glad to have you. Francis Howell was named Best District in St. Charles County and number 8 in the state. Congratulations, Francis Howell School District. It's a major accolade, something we should all be immensely proud of. We owe considerable thanks to the faculty and staff, as well as the administration, to put the district in this top 2% of Missouri schools. Tremendous. I hope to see this tradition of excellence continue. Now on to some developments. A neighboring district, Rockwood School District, has recently ran into a bit of a rough patch, and I wanted to share a story. This is longer than I have time for, but in short, the board, and specifically board member Izzy Emig, whose campaign was backed by an anti-DEI group in the district, recommended cuts to 3 established programs supporting marginalized students, and these cuts ultimately passed. They targeted students who were predominantly black, in need, and low income. These are the only programs that were targeted. There was no replacement. They were cut abruptly and with no community input. The group who worked with Director Emig is the same group that had terrorized that district over 2 years regarding masks, critical race theory, and library books. The programs that were cut had been around for 4, 5, and 10 years respectively. If we aren't careful, Francis Howell may find itself divided into 2 camps. Those who would protect this district and all its primary stakeholders, and especially the students, versus those who see no issue in seeking to target particular groups to gain traction, political favor, or those who falsely portray themselves as fighters for children. Eric Schmidt and the recent reporting by Fox News and the KC Star of his failures to close and prohibit operation of the Agape boarding school, which is rife with credible allegations of abuse, torture, trafficking, and even slavery in southwest Missouri, comes to mind. Sadly, many who have claimed to be staunch supporters of children have been quiet on this development, which I'd add Schmidt has known about for over a year. The truth is, people lie. They claim to be fighters for children, they spin, they say they'll do something, and they sit on their hands instead, or they stun us with their silence. Some of those people occupy high office and seek higher office still. Things we can do to help in the district and stand up for the district when others fail. We can consider the findings of a Blue Ribbon Panel report that recently was published. We can safeguard our programs. After all, we got an A in clubs and activities in the recent reporting. And lastly, I'd ask for a recommitment from the board regarding the equity pledge from 2021, I believe it's the year, to include our newest board members, and because it's the right thing to do, issue a statement of support for the resources, clubs, and other activities and programs available to the student body for not just some, but all stakeholders.
Next speaker, Grayson Justice.
Hello, my name is Grayson Justice. I am a alumni to the Francis Howell Central High School. My pronouns are he and she. This month is LGBTQ History Month, and today is Spirit Day, a day of awareness of bullying and harassment in schools and means like this to LGBTQIA community. LGBTQ History Month was created here in Missouri by a high school teacher named by the name of Rodney Wilson in October 11, 1994. He wanted to celebrate and remember the people of the LGBTQIA community who had influenced this country. from Marsha P. Johnson, Harvey Milk, and Pete Buttigieg. Also events like Stonewall, AIDS, Marriage Equality, and Pulse Nightclub. It would be nice if students learn these in history classes and school libraries, age and grade appropriate. Sadly, people on the other side want to erase and ban books with people like me and so many other communities besides their own, that the other side filled with their hearts with hate, ignorance, and bigotry. The other side wants to have books like Mein Kampf or The Art of the Deal, but I guess those books like those will not be shelved in school libraries anytime soon. There is nothing wrong with learning different communities and issues in books. It helps a student understand them and what it will be like in their shoes. And history classes from middle school to high school should learn from these great men and women who really made what America great, just like the Black education classes. And to those people who say we don't teach religion in schools, I remember learning different religions in social studies and world history, but they want the only one religion, Christian indoctrination. Board, if you support these people, like the board member commenting about people like me of groomers and pedophiles, you're not here for the school, you're not here for the staff, you're not here for the students, you're not here for the faculty, you're not here for the teachers. You're here for yourself and your cult. Thank you.
Next up, we have Barbara Bauer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yeshua Hima. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ooh, I think I got that wrong. Let me rephrase it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the divided states of America and to the democracy for which we are pushing our nation toward, under man, divisible, with liberty and justice for some. This is where we are headed in the name of progress. The vocabulary has been redefined to align with the concept of what is being perpetrated as education in the schools today and is sending our children straight to hell. We changed equality to equity, which I think means something valuable about my house. Justice to social justice, a guise of CRT, 75 pages worth, and we all know it's there. And we all know that it's being taught in one form or another. You can't hide it. Pitting one race against another. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. fought and died to change the segregated idea, and here we are back again. We changed gender identity to sexual orientation, putting pornography books in our school libraries as a form of health education and defying parents' rights, rewriting history. Tell me how you do that when history repeats itself. And why not change the Department of Education as a whole to the Department of Indoctrination? It is said you reap what you sow, and that's evident in our colleges and universities today. This is not going away, it will become worse because we threw God out of our equation. We threw God out of the schools, our homes, our lives, and now even our churches. We can't even mention his name in a neighborhood newsletter for fear of offending someone. But the Bible states God made him male and female. Funny, how come the animal kingdom still embraces that concept? Be careful, God is not mocked. That whatever you call yourself, Christian, non-Christian, Jew, Hindu, atheist, deist, or agnostic, we all will stand before our Creator and give account of our actions. And for some, it might be tonight. Thank you.
Hey, hey. Next up, Stephen Blair.
My name is Stephen Blair. I am a pastor at a United Methodist Church here in St. Charles. I moved here recently. I chose Francis Howell after calling and researching several other districts. I paid more for our house because of this particular school district, and I think that's just one of the effects of a good school district. We are 8th best school district in the state. That is awesome. Like you heard just a moment ago, great job to our district superintendent, our board, our district staff, every teacher who is here. Ryan, you made that happen. Next year, let's go for top 5. At the board meeting last month, a Mr. Bauer, who I respect, who loves his community, loves his school, loves his grandkids, he made a comment that the kids are not your kids to the teachers, they are our kids. And I wanted to add that the words ours and mine have different meanings. They can be exclusive words. The red Corolla out there, that's my Corolla, not yours. Easy with all the envy, everyone, that's my Corolla. The word my can also refer to responsibility and ownership. This is my country. I love it. I have responsibilities. It's also your country too. I am thankful for every teacher who views the students in their class as my kids, as an act of ownership and responsibility. Those are the teachers that we want. I am thankful for teachers who dress up for Halloween and throw parties in their classrooms. I am thankful for teachers who survive the days right before break. I am thankful for teachers who lose sleep when something is off with one of their students. I am thankful for what is happening in Fairmont Elementary. I am thankful the school district understands that kids learn best when they feel safe. You have guest speakers talk about suicide prevention, preventing sexual abuse, and creating a bullying-free zone. The equality and safety of all students is not partisan. It isn't about donkeys and elephants. It is telling the young person in front of you that they are accepted and they are important as they are, while other people who are here figure out blue or red ways to make sure everyone knows it. I am thankful for those teachers who say those messages. I'm thankful for teachers who talk sports with their students, especially those who try to talk sports. I am thankful that teachers can hear national voices that falsely accuse them of teaching CRT or grooming or whatever is next. And they shake it off and they put their heart into another day of teaching. I am thankful for every minute the district staff and board spend trying to find out ways to raise the pay of teachers, paras, admins, custodians, so soccer teams don't have to sweep the floors. Every moment you spend on that, because what is good for teachers is good for students. I'm thankful for the next speaker. Whether they agree with me or not, these are our kids. These are also our teachers. We have responsibility for all of them.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Next up, Courtney Camp.
Hi, Courtney here. I brought my red book with me again. It's been a while since I've been here up to speak, but I'm flying off the cuff again because that's just what I do. I want to welcome you in your new role, Dr. Bumpus. We are excited to start a new chapter with you, and just as a mother, it was really cool to see Harvest Ridge on first day of school with the football players and the cheerleaders that represented what our school district or what my school building looks like actually. We are here every month, and the conversations in this room weren't just about Prop S. Like, you know, obviously we cover a gamut of issues, but there's constant back and forth between the community, and it's all based around preventing our kids from being themselves from one side, and another side seeing a future that is loving and accepting. And how are we going to build this community together and see each other as not just our own opinions and our own thought systems. Sorry. I'm gonna go to Brene because that's what I do when I'm nervous. And how do we build trust? And these are the sentiments. We need boundaries. And what the boundaries in this room look like is when people come up here and speak only their point of view, and it forces other people out. We are, there's going to be a pushback on that because boundaries are being broken. We need a reliable leader. We need a reliable leader in all of you to talk to each other and continue building this community. We need accountability and mistakes. We need trust as a vault. You don't share information or experiences that are not yours to share. So whenever we hear rhetoric forcing the narrative of grooming or things like that, that's not yours to share. We need to approach every situation with integrity and generosity. I want to end with, I'm really hoping that our next roundtable, I'm actually really hopeful for all the communication that has been built with this group of people and you, Dr. Rumpus. The surveys that have already been out, the roundtable that was held, seeing you guys at a community.
Thank you. Your time is up.
And I want to see that DEI is the next roundtable.
My apologies, I unintentionally skipped our fifth speaker, Andrew Flett.
I'm going to kind of do this a little differently. I will address you guys, but I'm going to turn this way for just a second because I have an idea that I want to pitch to the community to kind of fix a little bit of these things. I was a teacher for a little under a decade, and I learned to accept kids for who they are as they come into my classroom. So I'm trying to figure out a bipartisan way that we all can have our needs met. The main issue that I've been hearing a lot, and I've been here since April, everything I hear about is the books, and I hear you and I get you. The idea that I have is color coding our books within our school where parents can sign off on what they want their children to read and to also move different books to different colors. So if you feel like a book is kind of at a bad place or maybe not appropriate for your child, bring it to the school. We can move it to the red. We can keep it in the yellow. We just kind of pin. A great example for me, Kite Runner is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. There is a lot of adult themes in there. Do you think a 10 or 12-year-old understands the complexity of an Iraqi culture and the issues that happen in that book? They don't. That book can go to the high school and that be A-okay. The reason the color scheme works and why I like it is because you can hear the parents and the parents can sign off to protect their children however they want, because at the end of the day, it's the parents' decision to let the children read what they want to read, what they're comfortable with, while also not infringing upon the rights of parents that want their children to read that. So parents can sign on to say, I am comfortable with my children reading anything that is in this library, or they can say, I'm not comfortable with what's happening or what is in here right now. I want my child to be labeled this as a yellow bookkeeper. Now I understand, and I hear it. It's hard to achieve because I've talked to both groups, and I understand it will create a lot of work for the librarian and A+ tutors. But I'm willing to take that on and have them do that if we can fill this room with not talking about this issue and actually fix it. Because that's what I want to achieve with it, is to create ideas to fix this. And even though we both might not agree on this total thing, it doesn't infringe upon the rights and protects parents where it needs it. So that is what I'm proposing for that. And with 30 seconds left, I'll turn it back around so I can address here. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Congratulations, thank you for what you do, and I'm so glad you're appointed. You've been doing a great job so far. Word of caution, and a word to everyone that's out here. The issues that we had financially before happened in those two seats, the CFO and the superintendent. It is important that as a community, we keep an eye on them and just keep them accountable for their actions. Because at the end of the day, that is what's most important within a school. We need to hold the school accountable, not just the words and actions of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Your time is up.
All right, back to proper order. Christopher Brooks.
Again, everyone. Andy, you're great. Now, we need to go to Paul and ask them about that, because they were going to implement a rating system so librarians wouldn't have to do it, but librarians complained. So I encourage you to find that middle ground and see if we can implement it here. I'm also wanting to celebrate the niche number 8 ranking here for the district. That is, I would have been happy to celebrate it 3 years ago, which is what their data is based on pre-pandemic. If you go to the Missouri school rankings put out by the Show Me Institute, they have updated 2021 data. And that shows in those 2 years we've slid in a lot of areas, and a lot more than other districts around us, including our math scores, have gone from 65.5% proficient to 53.7 proficient. That's a decrease of 12%, and about 2,000 students that are no longer proficient in math according to the state scores. Now, we can't just blame that on the pandemic because Zumwalt only slipped 6%. They're ahead of us in math now when you look at the aggregate scores. And you look at a bunch of other rankings on there, we're 52nd in the state according to that ranking site. And they actually show their methodology. Niche doesn't. Niche is a lot more subjective. They're hidden. The reason I'm here to speak tonight, though, is because instead of looking at the problems in our math department, they seem to have doubled down on trying to change things. What's changed in the last 3 years? Okay, if you think about it, what has the math department done differently the last 3 years? They introduced pilot programs and a full rollout of the middle schools of the CPM math textbooks. Now, CPM is a very interesting program. It's been around since the 90s. It was part of California New Math Wars. It's also called Discovery Math. Ever heard of that one? This is where the teacher doesn't teach anymore. The teacher just sits there and facilitates student group learning. Now, this is an interesting concept and works great when you have people who already know the material. But when you have middle school students who are getting their first foundations in pre-algebra, algebra, algebra 2, some geometry, this isn't helpful because they need, a karate kid, right? Daniel-san, wax on, wax off, right? He didn't understand what Mr. Miyagi was doing. But Mr. Miyagi knew what he was doing because Daniel had to learn the basics so that he had them down instinctively before he could learn anything more complex. And this is the problem with CPM. By jumping straight to the group work, it misses that instruction that a professional math teacher needs to be doing. Now, we've been trying this. My daughter went through the CPM math in her advanced math classes in the middle schools. They didn't do the CPM way of things. They might have used the textbook, but they didn't do this whole group learning thing. They supplemented with other materials. And so I don't understand why you're going to approve, for the Accelerated Math 7 program, this textbook series that at best, and if you look at the original studies, at best it keeps touch with the other stuff. At worst, it ruins it. Let's see, where was it? In Fairfield, Connecticut, the first cohort that went through the CPM math and arrived in calculus went from a 26% scoring 5 on the AP test to 5% scoring 5. The number of students that failed that test doubled. Okay, this was the first cohort that arrived from CPM. So before you approve that $62,000 for the 7th grade students, think about that. And we're going to hang that around your neck next election if you continue to do it and don't improve. Thank you.
Next up, Becky Horman.
Oh, good evening. I'm here tonight not only as a current district educator and parent, but also someone who's benefiting from the compassionate support and guidance found within the FHSD Transparent Support Group. Over the past couple of years, I have listened. I've listened to my child. I've listened to my heart. Did I fully comprehend the entirety of where my family's transgender journey was going? Absolutely not. But most importantly, I was open and willing to learn. So that's what I did. I am by no means now an expert, but most certainly have a better awareness, empathy, and understanding of individuals who identify on the gender spectrum. Along the way, it's been encouraging to have some in-depth conversations with many of my son's teachers and several colleagues across the district. The thing is, they always have lots of questions. Many have expressed that their personal and professional knowledge is lacking, specifically on what to do if and when they ever have to support a student in their class who identifies on the gender spectrum. Many have expressed that they would indeed like to know more about how to create a gender-affirming learning environment, seeking out more information, wanting to learn and understand more about gender diversity in general. That got me thinking. It got me thinking for the past several years that FHSD has been district-driven to educate staff in trauma-informed and restorative care practices because the need was there. You listened and provided that. But based on our current reality and increasing number of students who identify on the gender spectrum, it is time. It is time to acknowledge those needs at all grade levels. Learning is going to be the key element of this process. Educators and administrators need to be provided with engaging professional development training in order to become more gender literate. And most importantly, in order to build a school climate that avoids gender stereotyping and affirms the gender of all children. All adults in Francis Howell, including members of the board, who must act as protective agents committed to the safety and well-being of all students, in addition to those who are transgender or gender diverse. I encourage each one of you to seek out learning and work together to better understand what is in the best interest of all of our individual students. In the meantime, a couple of years ago, the district ESCs and elementary administrators were given the opportunity to attend a beneficial training provided by a local consultant named Jess Jones, specifically on how to create a gender-affirming learning environment. But beyond that, as far as I know, no additional gender education training has been provided.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Next up, Liz Poyster.
Thank you for saying it correctly. Like, nobody ever gets it. So I'm really happy. Hi, board, administration, patrons, both in person and online. I don't know where the camera is, but it's around here. First, I want to join in offering my congratulations to Dr. Rumpus. Our family is beyond happy that you will serve in this position. Board, you did good. You did real good. In his short interim, Dr. Rumpus has demonstrated his willingness to facilitate civility, engage all members of the community, and lean into transparency. With his appointment to this position, we feel reassured that our district will rise to the heights it deserves and earn the reputation as the best district in the area. A quick story, if I may. Back in January, I had a strong disagreement with y'all about your COVID decisions. Sorry. I had a third grader who was really nervous about going back to school, and Dr. Rumpus engaged with me over email. But that's not what sold me. What sold me was the next day, he emailed me and said he had some time free up. Could he walk over to Central and visit with my son to see how he was doing? And I said yes, and then immediately called my son's teacher so that she didn't freak out. He sent me a follow-up email complete with a selfie of the two of them, and my son remembers this occasion very fondly and still refers to you as his buddy, and he knew I was coming here tonight, so he didn't just Friends, our district is facing a lot of challenges. Our county is facing a lot of challenges, but we can make a difference here. Under the leadership of you all and this administration, we've already seen how transparency, honesty, and integrity can build a better community. In my heart, there are at least two means to this end, and I would venture to prioritize them over all others. First, we must have the best faculty and staff. And as I've stated in my prior comments to you, we are blessed to have teachers and staff members who make an impact. But we have to be careful to not lose the ones we already have and to attract the ones that we don't. To accomplish this, our district must have fair pay, a healthy culture for teaching and learning, and community support. As a community, we must be willing to let teachers teach, find funds to hire the best paras, and trust librarians to build up our kids. And this only works if we step back and let the professionals do what they do and pay them what they're worth to do it. For a strong community, we must consider safety for all. The last several months, I have been blessed to serve with Missouri Citizens for Safer Communities. We are a group that promotes safe environments for all community members. It's an organization that works tirelessly to promote an all-inclusive and welcoming community and support system for any soul who feels unsafe. We have made small but significant impacts to date, and we look forward to promoting Francis Howell and St. Charles County as a safe community for all. Thank you for serving this district, for taking steps forward, and providing an open and inclusive learning environment for all students.
Thank you.
And
Your
faculty.
time is up.
Last up is Carrie Zalowski. I'm sorry, Jamie Martin.
Oh, she wasn't here. Sorry, Jamie.
My apologies.
I was hiding.
Hello, I'm Jamie Martin. My pronouns are she and her. And like the speaker before, Andrew, I was a teacher for just a little under a decade. I have 4 kids in the district, and I want to talk about faith. Because I'm a really faithful and active person in my religion. And I think sometimes when people speak about faith at this podium, sorry, it's time for my little boy to get ready for bed. Sometimes when people speak about their faith from this podium, they speak about it in an exclusionary way, I think like we heard earlier. And I want to say that that's not part of the religion that I follow. And I don't think that we find it in scriptures of the Christian religion. We know usually state and church are kept a little bit separate, but when we hear comments about faith, I just want to qualify. I want to say there are people in this room who are members of my own faith. And I just want to share a couple of thoughts tonight. When Jesus Christ, and I apologize if you're not Christian, you can just ignore, cool with me. But when Jesus Christ is asked a question and he responds with the parable of the Good Samaritan, I think it's important to hear what he says before he starts. The person who asks him, in Luke chapter 10, verse 29, he says, "But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, 'And who is my neighbor?'" The person who, the scriptures tell us that the person asking the question was willing to justify himself and ask, who's included? Who should I love? And when the Savior responds, he tells the story of the Good Samaritan. How an outcast, right, is willing to serve and help a Jew. Right? And so what we learn from this, and I'm a little nervous, I hope I'm not getting details wrong, but what I know about the story of the Good Samaritan is that we can serve and we can love outside of our culture. We can serve and we can love outside of our race. And we can serve and love outside of our gender. Because love isn't about boundaries, right? We heard Dr. King quoted tonight. I'm a student of Dr. King. I love to read his words. He said many, many things. But one of the things that he said was that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Right? So if we love all of our kids, if we want to serve all of our kids, that means all. It means all. It means when we make financial decisions, when we consider how to use our money, we consider all kids. It means that when we come to this podium and when we gather in this room, we don't say hateful things to one another because we're a community. And if we have Christian values and if we don't, we all live here together. Thank you.
Now on to FHEA comments.
Good evening. First of all, we would like to express our thanks to the Board of Education for making their decision about Dr. Rompus. We believe this will help prospective educators choose FHSD because of the stability of this decision. We also appreciate the collaboration that we have already had with him and look forward to even more so that we can ensure our students' success. Secondly, we would like to thank FISPA and administration for coming together to negotiate raises that will hopefully help us fill positions and keep our existing people. Custodial, sub, and para shortages impact all our staff and students, so we hope this helps. Lastly, we would like to encourage the district to invest the remaining money from the ESSER 3 funds in the staff. Once these funds are in our account, we hope they will be used to ensure our staff who did whatever it took during COVID crisis to meet our students' needs and continue to navigate the learning and behavioral challenges that were a result. Our rating on niche shows that our staff continues to help FHSD excel in the face of adversity. Thank you.
FISPA.
Kind of scary when everybody's looking at you. Hello, Board of Education members, admin, and community. My name is Seren Henderson, and I'm the president of the Francis Howell Education Support Professional Association, also known as FISPA. FISPA is sure we are all aware of the shortages throughout the district within the custodial and para groups especially. With this in mind, FISPA, admin, and the Board of Education came together to help alleviate the stress of shortages. Through several hours of open and positive negotiation, we did come up with a Memorandum of Understanding, or an MOU, that was then brought to our members for a vote. We are here to report that the MOU was received and passed through our membership. We know this MOU will not solve everything. However, we do feel we are moving in the right, positive direction. Thank you to the admin members, the board members, and the FISPA members that spent several nights and many hours to make this happen. We all look forward to working with you in the future.
On to reports, Prop S update, Mr. Jeremy Butler.
Good evening, board. Okay, starting at 801 tonight. So 801, as we talked about last month, is basically substantially complete. We do still have a little bit of ongoing work in the breakout room / future boardroom areas. The one thing that has happened in the last month is that some of our folding partitions were delayed on that project. That does happen with the state of what we're doing. And those are the room dividers. They're temporary room dividers. So it doesn't really hold up the use of the room from a big meeting perspective, but little breakouts and actually separations of that room. We expect those in December, so it's not too long away, but that was something that just recently came up. So we're working through that. There's also something that I would just talk a little bit about now. In the purchases over 7,500, there's something for TMI for the control system at 801. This isn't necessarily a Prop S thing, but it is related to 801. So I'm going to take a moment to explain it now, and we can ask questions later, or I'll stick around for purchases if there's more questions then. But basically, when the 801 building was built or bought, it was 20 years old. So you got a building that had 20-year-old stuff in it. And one of those things is the control system for the HVAC. Now, a control system for the HVAC is just a fancy way to say thermostats in a residential application, but those control systems are quite complicated in a commercial building. Different zones, the energy efficiency, stuff like that. So the building actually had what we would call a system, a language. It spoke a language that the district wasn't necessarily used to using. So Ford, Chevy, kind of a deal. So in the last month or the last year or so, we believe that actually that system has failed on the first floor. So in essence, we don't have control of the system on the first floor right now. We don't have control of the HVAC. We've made some temporary solutions to it, but we cannot continue to do that long term, especially when we get into the heating season. So some repairs need to be made to that. So we reached out to Hoff Construction. The actual system that's there is called an Andover system. We got a price to actually just change out the whole system, upgrade it. As part of the process of reviewing these controls, we found that some of the wiring probably wasn't installed the way it should have been or per the manufacturer's recommendations 20 years ago. So some of that needs to be upgraded. So that process was going, and as that process was going, Mr. Broughton, who's here tonight, who's the MEFP manager for the school district, actually reached out to a company called TMI, who uses an allergen control system. That allergen control system speaks a language that the district is used to using. So, they are trying to get their systems to all communicate in the same way. So, wisely reached out and said, hey, let's get a price just to upgrade this entire system to an allergen control system rather than spending money on something that honestly our people aren't used to working on. That allergen system actually came in cheaper once you take some of the credits from Hoff for the Andover system that we're using, and then that's wrote as a purchase over 7,500 tonight. So I just wanted to give a little background on that. It necessarily, it wasn't related to construction. That could have broke at any time, but we're there, we're working on it, so it happened. So just a little bit of background on that. I can answer any questions later, or Lance, I'm sure, would be willing to, he's here if you have any specific questions for him. So I will also say that Hoff continues to work close with the facilities department, so turnover is a big deal, just making sure that building's up and running and ready to go. So it's very close, but Hoff is still on site, finishing up a little bit here, finishing up a little bit there. I think the relationship has been great, really good, and everything's moving in the right direction. At Francis L. North, the last package, which is package 7, is out to bid. We've talked about that. That's for the fencing. That is the last thing we are waiting on pricing on. I believe that is supposed to bid now around November 8th, so we'll get those bids opened. We'll be bringing that hopefully to the board in November for approval. That'll be the last package to that's the one line item in the budget that we still don't have firmed up. They have money allocated for it. We just need to firm it up with actual bids. Just a little bit of a celebration, I would say, to highlight today. So, we have Monday meetings, not only with SM Wilson and Dr. Hawk and some of the facilities people that come to those meetings, but, the Francis Howell North team comes every once in a while too. Usually the principal, Mr. Janis, the athletic director, and we really try to focus on student safety. And, I just wanted to highlight this because, we built this new parking lot, but getting our students into the school where they actually drop off, a lot of work goes into that. We actually talk a lot about, hey, it's funny, you build a big grass pathway and you start seeing the way they're cutting through the grass and start, we get the brown grass. So, well, why don't we put a concrete path there if that's the way they're using it? So we're really trying hard to make the inconvenience of construction as safe for the kids as we can. We haven't had any issues so far, but this is something that's watched almost weekly. We're building a new stair system because it just came that the kids are taking the path of least resistance to the building and they're not going to walk around, so why not build a stair there? So there's a lot of good things that happen like that not everyone sees, but I think it's important to highlight those kind of things in meetings like this to just show how much attention is given to the kids and staff of Francis Howell North. So, and then we are beginning to talk about work that actually has to happen over the summer of 23. They will be building the Broadway, as we call it, but from the stoplight all the way to Henderson, that entire thing gets ripped out and redone. It gets upgraded to a double lane, 4-lane road for the buses, and there's a lot of work that has to happen there, but we're beginning to talk about how that's going to look. Access to Henderson is going to be very limited, some of those conversations with their staff, so never can plan ahead enough. So exciting stuff coming up for the next summer. Talk a little bit about Francis Howell North. I'm going to go quickly through this because a lot of it you've heard every month. Again, it's a big project. We're doing the same thing. So exterior brick continues on the classroom additions. The roofing is moving, and it's moving towards the Henderson building. They're probably 50% done with roofs. That is very important as we get into the weather. Keep the rain out. It means we can drywall and actually get things moving, painting, stuff like that. So that's good. Structural steel is nearing completion. We have just about topped out the building. The last bit of steel has been set. You'll see that in some of the pictures. That's always an exciting time. The MEFP, or Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing, and Fire Protection will be ongoing for 2 more years. So that's just all the ceiling work, all the stuff in the ceiling that you don't see when it's all said and done, but all the infrastructure of the systems that have to be installed. And then we always talk about masonry. There's just a ton of masons on site, a lot of work going on, not only on the interior CMU block, but also on the exterior red brick. And then, of course, we have block filler, which is just a nice way to say paint, that is going on in the main level classroom. So we have a drone video as usual, but the oversight of the building, I am going to highlight a couple new things tonight. I try to focus on something that maybe I hadn't talked to you about before, but the old building is down here. Henderson is up here. I get asked a lot about where will staff park and stuff like that. That's a good question. So if you look right here, that is where the student lot is. There's actually a large parking lot that will be put in right here. You can start to see that happening. This is actually the entrance to the building. The kids will come in here. This is the main entrance to the building. The offices are here. This is actually where the buses will drop off. So this has got some diagonal parking spots. In the end, the buses will come up here. They will drive around the back side of the building. They will stack here. The main student entry is right here. We think about Francis Howell High School, how it has an entry on the front and a student entry on the back, similar layout. Student entry here, then the buses continue and they pull out. There's a loop road that goes all the way around the building, but this drive lane actually goes all the way out to Hackman Road. So there actually will be 2 main entrances. There's 2 now, one going up the hill into the kind of front of the building. That actually goes away. but the actual entrance moves farther down this way. So just something interesting to kind of look at, something a little different. This is the Broadway we talk about right here. As we go to Henderson, that will all be ripped up and removed. So just something interesting. Steel, as I said, steel is finishing. This is the main entrance to the building. This is actually the main doors right here where you'll be walking in. These are these are the Google stairs, we call them. Very interesting kind of cutting edge concept. These are actually stairs over here that you walk up. This is the cafeteria area. These are actually, the best way to describe them is large concrete bleachers with carpeted on them, and they have USB ports and outlets. Kids can actually sit there, and it's something that Google made famous, but these are being incorporated into more and more projects. So I'll have the architects come to a meeting and kind of show you renderings of them, but it's a really unique concept. So kids would sit around in here and talk and do their homework, and then over here is actually the steps to go up. So it's kind of exciting to start seeing those develop. Again, we see a lot of masonry going on. I would just highlight to the board, we have 200 guys on site. I have yet to see a piece of trash in any of these pictures. So just again, I don't know how dirty I am when it's one person working. I can't imagine what it's like cleaning up for these guys. But the site maintains very clean, very good looking site. Again, more steel. This is all in the upper end as we were building. More steel going in. We start to see some of the brick now. So, you know, there is kind of three main pieces of brick on the building. This is the red brick that we call it. There's a darker brick down here, and then this is all a cast stone or a limestone that's put up here to kind of highlight. So this white you see is permanent. It's accent brick, and it goes up top. Here we see all the work that's going on the inside of the building. We see ductworks going in, pipe insulation, all the fun stuff that happens there. Here we start seeing some paint actually on walls. So again, roofs are above this, so that's why the roofing is so important to put on this time of year. Again, another nice picture of the brick. This is actually looking in the middle of the horseshoe. This is where the industrial tech area is and stuff like that. But you know, the other good thing is we start to see windows getting covered up. Those aren't the permanent windows, but they'll vapor over those. We'll get the heat turned on, and then the guys can work through the winter. You know, we try to keep it at 55 degrees where all the tape can dry and the paint dries and stuff like that. So they're all getting ready for the winter weather. Here's the roof looking the other way. These are where the future HVAC units will go. They haven't arrived yet. Again, more pictures. Here's just door frames on top of door frames. Actually, an interesting, couldn't figure out why S.M. Wilson took this picture, but then they figured it out. So this is actually the library. If you've ever gone to Francis Howell High School's library, you think of just that big library, 2 stories tall. This is actually those beams that the kids put handprints on. So you can't actually see the handprints because they're covered up. But eventually in that library, you will look up and actually see those handprints on those beams that are all set across. So a very nice feature. They've all been glossed, so you know they won't get damaged in the weather. But for now, they keep trash bags on them just to cover them up. But you can start to see this feature develop, which I think is exciting. Now we'll do the drone video as we always do. Again, gymnasiums right here. Henderson's over here to our top right. You see how dusty the site is right now. It's crazy. It just hasn't rained in forever. Again, this blue is vapor, our membrane that we spray on the walls to keep the water out before the brick goes on. You can see the roofs going in. Here's where all the red brick is going. The brick's kind of moving from this side to this way. The building's being built from this side to this side. These are where the new HVAC rooftop units will sit. We talked about the bus stacking. Bus stacking is over here. Henderson's now behind us, where Jason is sitting. We're looking the other way. Again, here's some roof materials being put onto the actual practice gym. You start to see the steel finally. You know, this used to be all openings for a couple of months. Now we actually see it all getting filled in with steel. So, like I said, the steel erection is just about finishing, which is always an exciting time on the project. Okay, thank you, Jane. There's one more slide, I think. Yeah, and then lastly, we've talked about the allowances. So we haven't used any more of the escalation allowance. We're still holding about $1.1 million in escalation allowances. That's not contingencies, those are straight up allowances that are just to offset any what ifs on escalation. If fencing were to come in $100,000 more or something like that, that's the first thing that it would pay for, or how it would be paid. We are approaching on 50%. This is how much SM Wilson has billed to date. We're at 40.7, so we are getting close to that 50% mark, which is exciting, right where they should be. Billed to date is about $66 million. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board have.
Board, any questions?
Sorry, Mr. Bettler, my question isn't for you, it's for Mr. Bryant, Mr. Mesmer here. What do you think of Francis Hall Union and your new digs over there? Your new digs, your new school over there. Hey, I'm old school. Patrick knows what I'm talking about.
This school looks amazing. Like, you said those USB ports on those little benches. Like,
yeah.
I never thought that a school would have that. Yeah, it looks way better than North.
What about Union? How was Union this year?
Union was good. Like the building, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
The new school?
Oh yeah, it was really nice. I heard a lot of complaints last year about how it was really cold, but it's a lot better now.
Now we're trying to make it really warm.
Any other questions, board?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to the consent item for the agenda. Just want to make note before I ask for a vote on this that there have been 2 items that were moved just prior to the meeting that were pulled and placed at items 9A and 9B. So you still see the summaries in item 8I. And so just to kind of clarify, those summaries are still there, but the items have been pulled to be voted on separately for 9A and 9B. So with that, I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda for October 20th, 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Chad and Randy? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. All right, board, I'd like a motion to approve the travel of NAGC as presented.
So moved. Second.
Chad and Patrick. Discussion, board?
Appreciate you pulling this one. This is just an association, nothing personal against the staff going there, but in the past I've had issues with sending taxpayer dollars to some certain organizations, and this particular one seems on its face like a great organization, and I'm sure they do a lot of good work, but there's some directions it seems they're taking that I don't feel comfortable supporting. I won't go through a list of all of the different sessions, but there's a whole trend in academia and these conferences that I just don't think our taxpayers, by and large, support. For instance, there's one session called Queering the Gifted Classroom. I do not think that's something that we need to be doing. We don't need to be associated with a group that's doing it. Our mandatory music training for sexual misconduct instructs staff not to counsel students in non-academic matters. Never engage students in conversations regarding their romantic or sexual activities. So anything about queering a classroom, I'm not in support of, or a group that's promoting it for educators in K through 12. I won't go into some of the other ones, but it's that kind of stuff, and that's the reason I just can't support it.
Anything else from the board, Edmund?
Hi, for everyone, what is NAGC, please?
It's the National Association for Gifted Children. So we like to send our gifted teachers, it's our Spectre teachers, who's we call gifted teachers, when the conference is local enough that they can drive. There's not a lot of learning opportunities for those staff members locally, and so they share a room, they carpool together so that we can keep the costs relatively low. So we're looking to send, I believe it's 4 teachers, 4 of our spectre teachers to go, and then they've agreed to share that learning with their colleagues, lead out some learning for each other through their PLC, through some of the PD days. They're very excited about going. We're doing some work with our evaluation process to make sure that, Dr. Vanderpool is leading some work in updating, not updating necessarily, but just examining our practices as we do every so often, and there'll be some learning there around that. So they're looking forward to the opportunity.
And do you have any idea of how many different sessions there are at this conference? Are there 20 or are there 100, or you really don't know?
We don't have it in front of us directly for this conference, but I'll just remind the board that at most learning opportunities, there are sessions that directly pertain to the work that we do in the district, and there are some that won't. The expectation is always when we send adults for professional learning that they are choosing sessions and attending conferences aligned with the goals and the strategic plan of the district, and that would be the learning that they would engage in while they're attending such events.
So just to clarify, of the sessions that Director Cook mentioned, there's no requirement from the district to go to those sessions, and even if they did, it wouldn't be immediately adopted into any processes within the district.
Correct. It's kind of like the one we talked about last month. They will choose the sessions that they feel are most relevant to their work.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, board? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. All right, board, I would like a motion to approve the travel learning learning forward as presented.
So moved. Second.
Chad and Jay. Any discussion, board?
Similar issues here. Again, nothing personal with the staff. I'm sure the staff will do things that align with their PD. It's really the organization itself that I have a problem with, who is taking on these kind of trends in academia, as I've said over and over again. This particular one has similar themed conferences. I'm not going to go into these, but the name of these groups is one thing. Learning Forward, National Association of Gifted Children. These all sound very nice, and I'm sure in the past, maybe they engage in different things, but there's this whole trend here, and we are supporting it. We're sending educators there on their conference programs, perhaps next year, their website. Francis Howell attended this. It doesn't say what sessions the Francis Howell teachers attended. It looks like we support these kind of things. We support this direction in academia, and I do not, and I just can't do it on behalf of the voters. So that's why I just don't support these things.
This one I can share a little bit more about. Learning Forward Conference, it's a professional development organization. This one's been around for a long time. Not that the other one doesn't, I just don't know as much about that one off the top of my head. They were pulled a little late, so I apologize, I wasn't prepared. This conference we have sent people to for many years. It is one of the most respected professional development conferences that we find when our top level leaders, our administrators reach out and ask, I want to do some professional development for myself as a leader. What is a conference that you would recommend? This is the go-to conference that we recommend. It is one that I can almost always guarantee any administrator can attend and will come back with relevant, high-quality learning, networking, connections every time. I've never had someone attend and come back and tell me like, it was just kind of okay. Unlike some other conferences that folks may attend where it's kind of a hit or miss. We've all been to things where you go and it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be, or it was just okay. That doesn't happen at this one. I've never had someone come back and tell me that. So the person making the request looked at multiple different conferences. I actually had a conversation about what are some different ones that you could explore. We looked at multiple different learning opportunities, and this one was the one that was most relevant to the goals and felt like it had the sessions that were most relevant to what they were hoping to learn about and accomplish. Tied to the direct responsibilities and work tied to their position. So I don't know if that helps make you feel more comfortable, but that was the reason for the selection of this conference.
Any other questions or comments, board? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? All right, board, I would like a motion to approve the transportation route report as presented. Chad and Randy? Discussion, board?
Yeah, thanks for pulling this one. I just had a couple questions for Dr. Hawk surrounding this. I know you mentioned that the financial review we had earlier this month that we maybe weren't getting all the transportation reimbursement that we could from the state, and so or that may be available. And so I was just curious on how much more spending above that reimbursement that we could be getting are we spending?
As we take a look at our route approval, we're actually in the middle of our budget process, and we're using our budget revision process, and we're doing our state calculation. We're at 139% above as a efficiency rate. You need to be, it's at 103, is that right, Jen? Or 105? Under 104. Under 104% to be able to get full reimbursement. Every percent that you go above that, you start losing state funding. For us as a district, when we look at our transportation routes, we have a lot of work to do. We've started that work this year. It, for some families, has not been well received because kids had to walk around a corner or walk to the end of the road, and folks have been used to being picked up at their door, and that has been hard for some of our older families, maybe coming up to the end of the cul-de-sacs. But there's a lot of conversation that we need to have with that going forward this year to be able to save money and be fiscally responsible. In some of our neighborhoods, we'll have 3 buses drive through to pick up kids, one right after another. And as we try to figure out how to stretch our money as far as we can, there's a lot of work for us this year. So I can't tell you an exact amount right off the top of my head. I can get that number, but I know that it was significant when we were taking a look at that initially. Jen, do you recall how much we lost? That was it. The number 2 million comes to my mind, but I'm hesitant to just speak it out loud.
This is the first year that transportation is fully funded. That's not something that normally happens in the state of Missouri, but it is this year. But because of our efficiency rating, the maximum penalty is 30%. So for this district, that means about $2 million.
So we'll lose out on that $2 million. Plus, we spent the extra money to drive around and drive to every door and go up and down every single street. So by spending less, we would get more on the back end and put out less on the front end. How much we can save, that's a big project that we need to do a lot of work on, and we really need to find out how much as a community we can stomach. Can we stomach walking to the end of the street? Right, can we handle having fewer stops? Can we handle putting middle school kids and high school kids on the same bus route? Could we handle having kindergarten through 12th grade kids on the same bus route? That happens in a lot of schools throughout the state of Missouri, but it's not the way we've done things traditionally. So we need to just really think through what we have the stomach for and how much money we want to save.
Yes, so what you're saying is this is purely within our control on what we want to decide to do. It's outside everything from the state, they fund it, and this is purely within our control to make decisions how we think we should operate transportation.
Yeah, we have a lot of ability to do a lot of good work. We're hoping that maybe in the future we're going to get some advisory committees together to try to start having those conversations. We're trying to push to have that as a roundtable topic. I don't know if it'll make the cut list, but we're hoping that it will make that cut list for the spring because there's just a lot of conversation that needs to happen, and people have to make peace with it. So just not going into cul-de-sacs this year. I don't know how many phone calls you had, Jen, but I know it was a lot. A lot of unhappy people because we didn't go down to the end of the cul-de-sac. We asked the people to come up to the top. So we want people to be happy and feel good about what we're doing and understand that we're doing it to try to be efficient and save money.
Thank you.
Since bringing transportation in-house several years ago, Ms. Simpson has worked incredibly hard, one, to provide a high level of customer service that we didn't feel that we had received previously using an outside vendor. And I think she and her team have been quite successful in doing that. And then the second piece is now being more efficient. Yes, one part of it is saving money and doing it as efficiently as we can financially, but it's also recognizing that under the current constraints of staffing, when it comes to bus drivers and monitors, that's an area we have shortages. You hear about neighboring districts that are having delayed routes, cutting routes, and having to make significant changes during the school year. We want to be proactive, recognizing that we may never be as fully staffed in that area as we were previously, to identify how we can most efficiently operate that department to still provide a high level of customer service while also transporting our students safely to school each day.
So we welcome our citizens and board members and staff members to help us brainstorm solutions. This is our year of brainstorming and fixing. I said, do you think we could do a mid-year route trimming so we can have enough drivers? That freaked people out. So we need to do a slower roll to get there, but we need help in coming up with what people are ready to do.
I just want to acknowledge that I remember prior to us taking the buses in-house that there were a lot of issues, and saw some of those and felt some of those firsthand. So I know the difference between the two. I've seen the improvement, so thank you for that. And then just one other question, and not a suggestion, but a question just to kind of contrast. So correct me if I'm wrong on this. Some school districts, if you live within a certain proximity of a school, you're required to walk to school, correct?
That is correct. Jen, what's the 1 mile? So all of the kids that we pick up within that 1 mile radius, there's no funding to support that.
Gotcha.
Not meaning that we want to make that happen, but.
Any other questions, board? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays? Passes. All right, board, on to individual action items. I would like a motion to approve the September monthly financial report as presented. Patrick and Ray. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion passes. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the purchase over $7,500 as presented. Randy and Chad. Any discussion, board? All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion passes. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the purchases over $7,500 for CPM as presented. So moved. Second. Chad and Patrick. Any discussion, board?
I think something you need to realize is that the bullet number 5 ACT testing.
Thank you.
Point of order real quick.
Okay.
We can't go backwards.
I can't go back.
Sorry.
Talk back.
Yes. Since we're on discussion for item C, any discussion for CPM?
A lot of questions about CPM in the board docs file this month. As a board member, one of the newest ones, this is the topic I have heard most about, which is surprising. Teachers either love it or hate it. I have heard from mostly teachers who don't like it. Hate's probably a strong word. They don't think it is the best for students. I'm a data guy. I try to keep an open mind with this. I did not take CPM math as a student, but this math program is for those who don't know, it's I'm going to oversimplify this, I'm sure. But effectively, students are encouraged to learn in groups of around 4 students a topic during the class period, and then towards the end, the teacher confirms the understanding or something along those lines. but it's a group learning. We've implemented it here in Francis Howell. We piloted it in I think the 2016-17 school year for Algebra 1 in Francis Howell North, piloted it the next year, and then implemented it in all 3 high schools the following year, which would have been 18-19. Our DESI data for that span isn't great. DESI, the MAP score, the Missouri Assessment Program, they changed the way they scored the tests, so it's not really an apples and apples comparison when you compare 2017, 2018 data to 2019. They changed the cut scores. So that the scores did go down, but that's probably in large part due to that cut score change. I have asked, and I understand other teachers have asked throughout the years if there's any other assessment data that is available. That is kind of informs me that it's a very manual process to go through that many years of data, to go pre-CPM implementation and then compare data and by classroom to see what, how students did in the classrooms where the teachers implemented this program, and then compare to a control group, for lack of a better word. We don't have that data to make this decision. And really, we've been making decisions on CPM without that data for years. I guess before I can approve something like this, I would need to see that kind of data. I don't know if we can go to the building principals and get it, if we can compare ACT scores. Got an email from a retired math teacher who laid out several potential sources. 4th and 8th grade math EOC scores can be looked at for 2010 to 2019 is a good range. Enrollment in intermediate algebra versus algebra 2 in each high school. ACT math scores. Enrollment in high school algebra 3, pre-calculus, trigonometry courses. Let's look at the trend of those over the past 10 years. All sorts of things we can look at here. And to my knowledge, none of that's been done. We're really just basing this on the way some teachers feel without necessarily surveying all the math teachers in the district. I know there's some that like it. This particular resource that we're approving tonight, a textbook, it's my understanding all of the middle school teachers who teach pre-algebra in 7th grade like it. As we all know, the way math is, it builds on itself. So those students will eventually move on to other math courses. And really, the students who are in pre-algebra are going to take algebra in middle school and move on to really the higher math courses in high school. And it's those teachers that we hear from that are worried. They say that the students just don't have the understanding that they used to have when they're coming into these courses. So there's I have a lot of reservation about it. I'll leave it there and let some other people comment.
Adam?
Thanks. Yeah, well, I have a number of reservations that Randy has had and kind of spoke to on CPM math. Really, I guess number one, I'd like to commend the district. They've been very open with conversation around CPM. As you can see, a lot of questions have been asked on board docs and are out there. I guess one of the big takeaways I have, and kind of just prepping for this meeting in general, is I've noticed a lot in the district puts a great deal of effort into being innovative for the good of the students. We really try to go above and beyond, and I have to applaud our teachers and our administrators for doing that. On the flip side of that, however, innovation for innovation's sake is rarely a winning model long term. And this kind of applies to CPM as well as some of the other agenda items that I chose not to speak about. When reviewing the historical data, it's really lacking. We've been doing this for a long time, and we really need to get to the point where we understand that, and I totally understand what Mr. Cook is saying. On the data, we've been doing this, we haven't really been looking at it. I went through the history of CPM and the request from the board, and nowhere in it have I seen anywhere of a justification of increasing academic performance. With all the pilots we've run, why are we running a pilot if we're not looking at academic performance? Now, kind of based on that, like, and the other thing that I went to is in the documentation for CPM, it literally says it requires significant change in instructional practices from the traditional classroom. So we're saying we can't teach math the way we did or trust our teachers to teach math. They have to stick to a certain program, and I have problems with that as well. However, I know we're in a tough spot. We've kind of went down this road. We've bought resources otherwise. I do have one question. Is this a textbook for the class, or is this a workbook that uses the textbooks for 7 and 8 that's already available?
No, it's a combination of the 7th and 8th grade resource, so it's a different resource, and it's actually a digital license, or it's a digital license for every kid and a class set of textbooks.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Regardless, we've kind of already gone down this path. We're invested a lot of time, effort, and energy. That doesn't mean you should continue something just because you've already invested money into it. But I see where we are, and kind of we have CPM at least already pre-purchased for the next 4 years, and so I can see the argument that it doesn't make sense to change this one class in the middle of everything for that reason. However, I would like to make a motion, if we do move forward with the change our motion and amend it to approving the purchase over 7,500 for CPM as presented, but with a pause in any additional rollout of CPM educational program throughout the district until a comprehensive review can be completed. That at a minimum includes full comparison of CPM to other resources, analysis of academic performance, and anonymous teacher surveys of all those teaching or attending to teach.
Would you mind repeating that?
Yes. Amending our motion to approve the purchase over $7,500 for CPM as presented, and pause any additional rollout of the CPM educational program throughout the district until a comprehensive review is completed. That at a minimum includes full cost comparison of CPM to other resources, analysis of academic performance, and anonymous teacher surveys of all those teaching or intending to teach.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion on the amendment, board? Go ahead, Dan.
Based on what Mr. Bertrand just said, Dr. Rumpus and Dr. Buckman, can you share what kind of a time commitment we're going to be looking at having to do that as far as working with our teachers? I mean, what are we looking at? Hours, months, just the general? I would need to know that.
Well, we aren't there is no plan to continue to roll out anything, there is no committee working on a next level of rollout at the moment, so you're not stopping any work immediately. I think Mr. Bertrand's accurate that the teachers need this resource right now. They're using CPM in 7th grade, they're using CPM in 8th grade. Those are both board-approved resources, and so this would be, the pre-algebra class is a combination of 7th grade standards and 8th grade standards. And so really what you're approving is just what you've already approved in a combined text, if that makes sense. What we've already had conversations about, our content leader has already this year, or I don't know if it's this year or over the summer, has reached out to the Algebra 1, the Geometry, and the Algebra 2 teachers. When we look at resources at the elementary level, we look at K-5 all in one. We don't buy resources for 1st grade and then later look at resources for 2nd grade and then later look at 3rd grade. We do it K-5. And same thing at middle school. We look at 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. We kind of do it all at once. And for some reason, at high school, we don't always look at Algebra 1 and Geometry and Algebra 2 all at once. We kind of do them one at a time. And his vision is really to look at it more comprehensively when we look at it next. And so he has already reached out to all 3 groups to say who would be interested in being part of that conversation. It's crystal clear that there are a lot of opinions among our staff about CPM on both sides. And so he already has a list of names. You may have heard subs are in a little short supply, so we haven't been able to bring a group of teachers together this fall to have that conversation because there are no release days to do that. And so we've had several conversations about what would that look like, when can we do that, but we have to have subs to be able to bring the folks together to have the conversation. And so the next step is to bring the folks together to talk about what do we want high school math to look like. What is important? What are the nice to haves? You know, we had a conversation at academic advisory kind of about what that process looks like in a typical resource adoption. The other thing we have to think about is that we did a curriculum audit. We have only so much money in the budget, and so we can't always purchase Algebra 1 and Geometry and Algebra 2 in the same school year. And so it is likely that we would maybe be ready to purchase Geometry materials in a school year, and maybe Algebra 1 materials would be in the following school year. And so it could look like the group having some collaborative conversations about what resource would we want when it's time to purchase, but not all three may be ready to purchase at the same time, if that makes sense. So the process that you talked about, you know, looking at data, talking to teachers, that is part of our typical process. You know, we have teacher voice in our process. Is every teacher involved? You know, in the middle school process, yes, every teacher who teaches the class was involved. Typically, we send an email out to the teachers who teach the course and ask who wants to be part of it. You know, when we selected CPM, you know, we've been very transparent that the folks that were running the process at that point in time aren't with us anymore, and it wasn't the typical process that we used, isn't the process that was followed, and I think that that's the pain that we're feeling right now and why it's just a little messy, because it wasn't our typical process that was followed. And so that's what we're trying to correct. That's why we pulled those purchases over the summer, and why we didn't, this purchase that we're bringing you tonight was a purchase that we brought this summer, and we pulled it because we recognized that we didn't follow the process. And so we followed the process, which is why we're bringing you a purchase a couple months into the school year. And so, you know, I think we recognize that we owe it to our teachers, we owe it to our students to make sure we're following those processes. So to answer your question, long-winded answer to your very short question, how much time would it take? You know, I think it's just our normal process. It's a hard question to answer because it depends on how much data there is to look at, it depends on how many people are in the group, it depends on how much conversation there is, it depends on how many vendors they find that they like. Sometimes there's only a couple that meet the criteria. Sometimes they find lots that they want to look at and we need to have folks come in. Sometimes it's an easy decision. Sometimes they decide they are tied between a couple and they want to do a trial between them because they really aren't sure which one they want to purchase and they want to get it right, so they need to try the resources out. So it really just depends on the group, and it's not always black and white.
Thank you.
So based on that, I think this pertains to the original motion and likely to the amendment motion, so I'm going to ask it now. This is strictly for 7th grade pre-algebra, correct? So just one course amongst many, and all the other ones, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, all already have CPM. And so I think Director Cook brought up a good point. Math does build upon each other. So 6th grade, they had that. Now 7th grade, they would be, if we did approve this, reflecting back on something else that then they would have to go back to at 8th grade if nothing changed. Okay. And then as far as the amendment goes, if we do go down that path and it forces you guys to take a look at that, if the ultimate decision is to scrap CPM and go to something else, go ahead.
Shall I pop it out there?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to mention that what we had, I want to say, no, that's not it, Envisions. When we made that purchase, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 years, we purchased in bulk. So the vendor created, at the time, the vendor created the resource for us. They combined the 6th and 7th grade, or the 7th and 8th grade materials and made our free algebra resource for us. And we bought all, whatever it was at the time, 6 or 7 years worth of consumables for us. And so we bulk purchased because that's cheaper. And so we had the pallets of resources, sorry. And we have gone through those resources. It was one purchase, we've gone through those resources. So we don't have them anymore to use. We did reach out and ask, can we have you print another year worth of materials, because we ran out and we didn't make the purchase this summer, and the kids are coming in August and we don't have the resources. And they said, no, we're not going to print you another year of materials. So we don't have another year of materials to use in our classrooms, because they're consumable. It's not like we could just pull the textbook out of surplus and keep using it. It was a consumable material. So that's why we don't have a resource for them.
Okay, thanks. And so to kind of finish the thought then, if we go down that path and we choose to go a different route from CPM, at that point we're basically going a different direction, not just necessarily resource, but possibly curriculum, which can ultimately be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if I'm correct. Is that correct?
It could be if it involved a complete resource adoption with a different company. But the reality is that would happen as part of a normal curriculum review and revision process already, not just, I think what Mr. Bertrand is recommending would be as we continue to look at math moving forward, not necessarily to come back in 1 year and change this one. I think he was referring to future math curriculum adoptions moving forward.
And I guess the reason why I'm asking is if that does end up happening, then we have to factor that cost analysis into that, because unfortunately we don't have large pots of money we can just spend however we want, so that would have to be an influencing factor at the very least. Is there anything as far as the amendment go that you guys see as overly cumbersome or why we shouldn't adopt it?
I don't want to say cumbersome. I think part of our process should be a cost analysis of any resource we're looking at adopting compared to other resources that are out there. I also believe that analyzing the academic performance is an important part of the process. We should be doing that on an annual basis already as we develop action plans and CSIPs at the building at the district level to adjust instruction to best meet our student needs. I think where that's a little bit challenging around one program is that looking at math performance, CPM or any other resource is a part of that. The curriculum and the standards are part of that. The professional development our teachers have received, how long they've been teaching, were they fully trained on that specific resource, the pre and post data of those students, where they're at when they start the year versus where they end of the year. So there are a lot of factors that influence that, of which one is the actual resource that's being used. I would say the only part that concerns me, and I appreciate the recommendation to amend this in an attempt to move it forward, given the unique situation this year, the idea of adding in an anonymous survey of all teachers. While I think we should be getting feedback, I just think that opens up an area. It's one thing if you are, as a board, recommending that we review the process we use for resource adoption and making sure we include some of these things or look at it differently. I think to include specific components at the board's directive under an amendment just gets into a gray area of the board directing the actual process and not leaving that to the administration to design. Although we do need to be sharing the process with you and getting feedback on an ongoing basis.
So as a normal course of that process, the teachers are asked if they want to join it, and then if they don't join it, they can still give their feedback. Join it.
The intention is that your colleagues are representing you, and so someone in your team is part of the process, and they're bringing the information back to the team. They're taking the input back. So if there's a team of 4, someone from that team of 4 is part of the process. So if Kim is on my team and I hate it and she loves it, she's coming back to the group and saying, I love it, but I'll take Connie, she's not a fan of it, and here's her perspective. So both of our voices are at the table. That's how the process should work.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. So any other discussion? I guess my question to Adam would be, given that concern, would you be willing to remove the survey component to that and then have it as an ongoing conversation rather than a part of the actual motion?
I think it's important to have, I'm okay removing the survey, the language or how it's being done from a process standpoint. I think it's important to have anonymous feedback because we've gotten feedback in some of the emails to the board of teachers feeling that they have been pressured into adopting it in the first place, or that they were told we're not leaving this room until it's adopted, which I fully comprehend that you said it's a different process, people aren't following you here, so I understand it, but I think it's important for us to kind of safeguard to that and make sure whatever information we're moving forward with is has that in there, and they don't feel pressured to just be swayed one way or another.
Okay, and so I guess from a consistency standpoint, maybe that's a conversation to have as a process for curriculum, as adding them. Okay, so then if that's the case, that we have that conversation down the road with the process of academic advisory and selecting curriculum. Are we okay with it and removing the survey part of the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
And to be clear, we fully support getting the feedback and talking about what that looks like and how we can do that.
Randy, you made the second on the motion. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You have anything other? You have a comment, Chad?
No, I was going to say, can we hear the amendment?
Yes. So, Jan, can you read us back with the amendment to the amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the purchase over $7,500 for CPM as presented and pause any additional rollout of the CPM educational program throughout the district until a comprehensive review is completed that at a minimum includes full cost comparison of CPM to other resources and analysis of academic performance.
Sound good? All right. Why don't we do this by roll call?
Patrick Lane.
Aye.
Chad Lang.
Aye.
Doug Ziegemeier.
Aye.
Adam Bertrand.
Aye.
Janet Stiglich.
Aye.
Randy Cook.
Aye. All right, now we have an amended motion. Anybody want to rehear that so we can vote on the actual amended motion? We amended the original, so it was a motion to amend. Now we have to vote on the actual motion.
You want me to read it again?
Does anybody want to rehear it? Reread it?
No, I just have one more question. Sure. When we were considering geometry over the summer, one of the points that was made was that the current textbook was old. The copyright date was old. I'd like to point out that this book that we're considering, this textbook, has a copyright date of 2013, and so we are adopting a book that's 10 years old. And in the past, we have been told that one of the reasons to replace the book is because the copyright was too old. And I'm told ideally, this was in our Q&A for the geometry over the summer. Ideally, between 6 and 8 years old would flag a textbook for replacement. So I'd like to point out that copyright date, it's not wear and tear. That's obviously books that are 10 years old. We probably don't even have textbooks that are 10 years old. That's something to keep in mind here.
Maybe I can get the information and follow up with you. I'm almost positive that part of this is because the resource is really an online resource. So much of it will be the online digital resource that the kids will be using, and that is so much more up to date than the class set of textbooks they would be using. The online resource is updated more frequently than the paper copy. So yes, there is a class set of textbooks that they'll use, but the digital resources are updated frequently. So let me get some information on that, and I'll follow up with you. But I had asked a question about that a couple of months ago, and I think that the answer was something in that ballpark. So I'll find out and follow up with you.
Any other discussions or questions, board? All right. Let's do a roll call of the motion as amended.
Randy Cook.
Nay.
Patrick Lane.
Aye.
Chad Lane.
Aye.
Doug Ziegemeier.
Aye.
Adam Bertrand.
Aye.
Janet Stiglich.
Aye.
Motion passes. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding and revised 2022-2023 salary schedule as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Janet and Chad. Any discussion?
Board, I just wanted to take a moment and echo Serene's comments tonight. As a leadership team, we just appreciated the time and the collaboration with FISPA to present this recommendation to the board. We are experiencing such a very unique, tight labor market,
And while we still have a lot of work to do, we are hopeful that these salary increases will help us to retain the amazing staff that we have here in Francis Howell that are supporting our students each and every day. In addition, the increases to the entry-level wage will just give us a better opportunity to recruit new staff. So we're excited to bring this forward to you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Board, any questions?
And of course, I put a mint in my mouth. I wanted to thank Sarin and her team and administration. It was a long 2 days, a lot of courageous conversations, but I think what we did, what was right for staff. It wasn't a perfect package, but I think the package being presented to us really helps the support staff to keep them, to maintain the staff we have, and to attract more staff to the district.
Yeah, I would just like to echo Patrick's sentiments there. I thought that the conversations were very good. I think they were positive, and they were also cooperative and collaborative. So I appreciate everybody that was in that room. So thank you. Any other comments, board? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the 2022-2023 pay increase and salary schedule for support staff as presented.
Second.
Patrick and Janet. Any discussion? Same stuff?
Yes, this just carries over the increases to those categories of employees that are not represented by FISPA. We see turnover and are struggling to see applicants in those areas as well.
Board, any questions?
Lisa, when will the raises take place?
The increases will go into effect on November 1st for the hours that are worked on November 1st. So our staff will see the increases on their paycheck on the November 25th paycheck.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding and revised 2022-2023 salary schedule as presented.
So moved.
Adam and Janet. Any discussion?
Mr. Zingmer, I would just say that, we took over transportation. We worked very hard as a district to be one of the highest paying districts for school bus drivers and monitors, and we experienced great levels of staffing for a long time. It kind of became a bidding war, and you saw that St. Charles School District and Fort Zumwalt School District came together with their drivers and increased their rates of pay. And since then, we have started to struggle. We have many bus driver openings and monitor openings, and that impacts our ability to serve our community and get kids to school. We know that this $1 an hour increase for our bus drivers at this time of the year might help retain some, but we have some significant work to do here in order to be competitive with our surrounding districts. In this area, we really are competing with our local school districts that are surrounding us, and they're outmatching us at this time. We also have several drivers in the next year who came to us from First Student who will have 5 years of service and be eligible to retire. And so we are going to see a significant number of bus drivers and monitors be eligible to move on to retirement here soon, and it could be in the numbers of 19 or 20 drivers. And so while we are struggling now with the 15 openings that we have, in the next year we could see 30 to 30 plus openings, and that would be unsustainable to get students to school every day. So it's just an area that we really do have to focus on as we look forward to next year, along with all the other positions too.
Any questions or comments, board? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll take a brief break to sign those MOUs.
Okay.
If you miss like the intro, so we'll just introduce you.
I do. Here's
How are you?
my text chain.
Cherry pick. Go on your set.
Next week I'm out of town, kind of deal. So I'll be a couple weeks from now.
Christianity, am I wrong? It's so nice to hear other people.
My oldest ability to write joke, I just love this sound. So when I tell you I like the name, like I legitimately like.
Or no, yeah.
5 weeks? 5 weeks?
Oh, yeah. I guess so, December 6th. Oh. That's the final cutoff? I think until.
Nice to meet you.
We have Nora that we bring to church with us.
Well, here's the two things. The first is the most destructive because your whole life now you have like babysitters, right? Kind of. The second one's harder because you can't sleep when you want to sleep because of Elijah because you got Nora. You already know. We'll talk later. But
Yeah, we'll put it on the calendar.
Congratulations. Man.
Hey, thanks.
How are you? What's your name?
Yeah, I'll freeze you out of here. Thank goodness. Okay. Awesome. Okay, well.
It's nice to meet you guys. Like I said.
You went to the newspaper for that.
I will be in the Smoky Mountains.
Hi, Harry. Hi. How are you?
Oh, yeah.
Energy.
Tired?
Yes,
I mean,
tired.
it's-
I'm hungry. Let's just get a question. They need to start serving snacks at
Maybe next week. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I think the only thing I was having, that's what it's Tuesday. I think the only thing is a Monday.
No, but my brother was saying there's some building that has some use, but maybe they could like move people out of it. And, I'm like, there's crazy buildings around because to split that community up, Georgia, and even if they could split it, because that was the glory, they didn't have, cafeteria, all the things you need. Right, also just like, making a decision like tomorrow they'll not see the kids and then supposedly virtual. I'm like, why do you even say that? Kids have like 2 days off while we figure out what the freak we're doing teachers. I don't know how they're going to do that. Yeah, I mean,
So basically everyone that's in this group. Yeah, probably. So I I love your shirt too. I haven't really announced it, but yeah, obviously she's not. She's great and happy.
All right, everybody, we'll resume the rest of the meeting.
It's so weird. No, I haven't. I've been to Disney. Yeah. Yeah. Doing great. Thanks, though. How are you? I'm doing good, actually. Okay. You know what I do?
I student take home back on student office, so I'm here to talk to you about it later.
All right, guys, we're going to resume the normal meeting. All right, board, I'd like a motion to approve 5 additional permanent full-time substitute teachers as presented. Patrick and Adam. Ms. Simpkins.
Thank you. Ford, this is one of the challenges that we have been facing since the 16-17 school year, and that is the shortage of substitute teachers when our teachers need to take a day off for illness or personal leave.
Over the course of these years, you'll see in our memo, and you've seen this information before, we have tried multiple different things to increase our fill rate, meaning that when we are asked to provide a substitute teacher, we have one available. And you can see the no fill rate, the amount of times that we are asked for a substitute and can't provide one, has increased over the years. We started really worrying about this when we were averaging 3 no-fills per day, and now I just wish I could go back to that time, right? Because now it's 13, it's 20 no-fills per day, and instead of being worried about 3, we're worried about how many are happening in a school and will they be able to function and provide a safe environment for students without the number of adults that they need. So when we brought you substitute teacher salary increases this year, we raised our daily rate above and beyond all of our local districts, hoping that that would help. We also, years ago, created a tiered system so that we can encourage substitutes who sub in multiple districts to want to focus their time here in Francis Howell and earn an increase in their pay as the year goes on. It isn't a Francis Howell problem. As we talk to our neighboring districts, they're all seeing fill rates of 80%, 86%, 73%, 69%, while we're in that 80 range. But I will tell you that any no-fill in a school building causes significant schedule changes, it adds more work to our staff, and our students aren't getting the education that they need. So again, we're coming to you with another solution, another idea. We implemented permanent substitutes several years ago. We started with 6 part-time permanent substitutes. We quickly moved them to 6 full-time. We added then an additional 6. We're at 12 right now. That's a difficult position to keep filled as well, but we were at a point where we had all 12 filled and thought it might be time to increase the number of permanent substitutes. They are people that come to work every single day. They know that they are guaranteed work every day. They have benefits as well, and they're paid a little higher because of that commitment to us. They also have a lot of flexibility, so we kind of hold on to them in the morning. We wait to see where the no-fills fall, and then we can send out the permanent substitute based on needs of an individual building. So if we see that there are 5 no-fills at one elementary versus 1 over here, we might send more permanent subs to the building that needs them. It's been our best tool in filling positions because those folks come to work every single day, unlike a regular substitute who can choose to work when they want to or when they don't want to. So we're asking for 5 additional permanent substitutes. We know that the profile of a substitute has changed, and this might be a way that we can fill maybe 5 more positions every single day out of the 20, 13 that are sometimes going unfilled. So we're hopeful that you'll support us in this next strategy to support our staff and our kids in finding adults to give them a safe educational environment.
Board, any comments or questions?
Lisa, do the permanent subs fill long-term leaves, or do we use them?
Not automatically. We will look for a long-term sub first. We will post for a long-term sub. I'll tell you, those are harder and harder to fill every
Sure.
day, every year. So if we aren't able to find a long-term substitute and we see that a particular classroom really has a lot of inconsistency, then we might use a permanent sub in that way.
Okay, thank you.
We're also using some of our permanent subs to fill our para vacancies right now because buildings had multiple para openings and they needed some consistency. So we've used them in that way as well.
Thank you.
Board, any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is policy review. First reading for policies. Any questions or discussion? All right. I believe we're on to superintendent comments. Superintendent. Comments in the notes, right? Yeah. So,
Thank you, Board. I also suggest we move superintendent comments to the start of the meeting so everybody can hear them before they all go home. First, a couple of celebrations we have each month. I want to recognize that we held our second annual career fair on September 28th of last month. Francis Howell Central hosted it this year. This gave over 1,000 juniors from our 4 different high schools the opportunity to come together to interact with potential employers, universities, trade schools, as well as military branches. Katie Vargas, who has spoken to you a couple of times around her college and career work, our college and career specialist, and her team did an amazing job getting this restarted post-COVID. You've likely read about Josh Steele, a senior kicker on our Francis Howell football team, secured his place in state history, becoming Missouri's all-time leader in points by a kicker when he reached 255 points earlier this month. And I will also add that the young man also maintains over a 3.5 GPA, so a scholar and an athlete. Everybody has one more opportunity this weekend to see some of our Francis Howell Central Theater Group perform at the St. Louis Renaissance Fair, which they've been doing throughout the month. I believe it's at 10 and 1 this Saturday and Sunday are the final performances as part of that program. I also want to take an opportunity to thank FISPA and their president, Søren Henderson, Teamsters, the administration negotiations team that for our support staff is led by Mark Delaney, the board members who participated, and the board this evening for supporting the MOUs that were presented tonight, the salary increases, as well as the additional substitute positions. Salary is just one component in the recruitment and retention of high-quality staff, but we do believe it's an important step to hopefully prevent further resignations as we move forward this year. It's important that it shows our employees that we value them and that within the means that we have, we are doing what we can to recognize the work that they're doing and that we want to have competitive salaries and keep them here with Francis Howell. I believe that it also shows problem solving and collaboration that really took place between administration and our employee associations. We know, as Ms. Simpkins mentioned, that in this economy, it's just a matter of time now before other districts begin to change their rates, that everybody's trying to remain competitive. So we recognize as we move into negotiations with all of our associations for next year that competitive salaries and benefits are important to being able to not only attract but retain the highest quality teachers, administrators, and support staff here in the district. We also recognize that this will not solve the problem and may only move the needle a little bit. There's a lot of other problem solving that still needs to take place when we think about overall recruitment and retention of employees, and that's going to be ongoing indefinitely at this point. And last, I really just want to end tonight thanking, first of all, you board, again, for putting your trust in me to keep me in this role for hopefully the next several years. I'm committed to helping this district remain one of the top performing districts. We still have a lot of opportunity. We have opportunities for growth, and there's a lot of work to do. But I'm committed to doing that and excited to work with an incredible group of leaders on this team at the building level, our teachers and our support staff, and each of you to make that happen. I commit to our students that we're going to provide an educational experience both in the classroom and extracurricular that prepares them for whatever choice they make when they leave Francis Howell, whether that's career, whether that's college, whether that's the military. We want them to have had the experiences that are preparing them to be successful in life. And I also want to commit to them that they have schools to come to each day where they feel welcomed and where they feel valued. I commit to our employees that we continue to create a culture and a climate where staff want to come to work each day, where they feel valued, and where they feel that they have a voice. I believe that we do invest in the adults and the employees in this district so that they can, in return, invest in our students and do what's best for them. I commit to the parents in the community that we continue to really work on how to be good stewards with the resources that you bring to us. One, your children first and foremost, but also the financial resources. And being transparent in how we use them, and I fully welcome the accountability of me and our team to continue to do that for you and for this community. And I commit to all of our stakeholders, every one of you, so our students, our staff, and our parents and taxpayers, that we're going to continue to focus on how we can communicate with you and engage you in authentic ways that make you a part of the decision-making processes for this district and make you feel that you are part of a team and that your voice is heard as well. So again, I'm honored to serve all of you in this role and to be a part of an amazing team. And I hope that all of our staff and students that get next week off enjoy a great week. It's been a long first quarter and a lot of hard work, and people have earned some time to rest and relax. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Artis. Any comments from the board? Ryan?
Who should? Okay. So this is for Dr. Hawk. I love Union, and it's a great school, and I know there's a kitchen being built in there right now. It could be almost done by now. But I'd like to address the food quality of there that's in there, because I can remember one time, and this was just not that recently. There were a whole bunch of nachos set out, and on the top was a brick of like plastic cheese, and like, you couldn't microwave it. You couldn't spread it like butter. That's not how it worked. You know, if it's not that, the food's either kind of cold or you might have to microwave it. So I was just wondering what we can do about that. Personally, I would add some more fresh fruit options like some grapes, oranges, and I mean whole fruit, not just juices, as well as just, well, I'm pretty sure the kitchen will help a lot with the heating and stuff like that.
I'll just say you're speaking my language. And Cindy over here, she is our Director of Finance and also coordinates our food service program. You're speaking her language too. We have been having a lot of conversations, We've been having a lot of conversations with Sodexo, who is our food service provider, about the importance of fresh, high quality food that kids want to eat. And also helping stretch kids' palate. Like, it's really easy for everybody to want to eat chicken nuggets every day when you're in elementary school. But I think it's good for kids to have a lot of different things to try to eat, besides just chicken nuggets. And we are working with Sodexo on trying to get that rolling again. COVID was kind of hard on people for a variety of reasons, and that is behind us. Hopefully, most of our supply issues are also behind us. Most recently, we talked about student voice and getting the student, they have an official name, but basically food service student advisory groups going at all the buildings so that kids can give us input and we can make lunch better. We've made some little headway of like trying to have spice bars in the buildings because nobody likes food that doesn't have any flavor. Well, I don't like food that doesn't have flavor. Hot sauce and everything works for me. So we're trying to do some of that to make food, give you guys some choice, so you can make your food taste well too. So you can be our first, like, you can make it start, make the change. There's power in leadership and use your voice, because when you just sit around and let things be mediocre, that's what you get, mediocre. If you want it better, use your voice and we'll make it better. So thank you. And we've got our first candidate, it sounds like. I know that Sodexo is really committed to it too. We've got some really cool stuff happening in some buildings. We just need to get the really cool stuff happening in all of them. It's hard to roll it all out. Is it at which middle school this year? Hollenbeck. Like, they've got a cool program that they're launching, and it's really neat, but we need to get that going in all the buildings as well.
Board, anything else?
Just information for the audience. There's a lot of conversation about teacher pay, and something to think about. With the conversation with my brothers and brother-in-laws, we're all getting old, and we go out to breakfast once a month, and we're trying to clarify for them. Teacher pay in the state of Missouri, minimum is $25,000, and that's occurring in more than one school district in our rural areas. How do you equate that? Being number 50. If a young couple, husband's a teacher, he gets a job, he makes $25,000 in the district. Wife finds a job for $12 an hour, she makes $24,960 minimum wage. It's a crisis, and that's why we're not getting teachers. So please, please speak with your congressman about allocating more money so that we can pay our teachers a fair wage. And just think about that. $12 an hour, 40 hours a week, times 52 weeks a year. Thank you.
I just want to wish all our teachers, staff, custodians, everyone a wonderful fall break. Enjoy this time off. I would also like to thank the administrative team for bringing back our student representatives. I've had the pleasure of the last 2 meetings of sitting next to 2 very intelligent young people that just make me really proud to be in this seat. And this is what this district is all about. Ryan, thank you for your attention. I know that some of it was a little boring, but I really appreciate the fact that you listened and asked the appropriate questions. So everyone have a great fall break.
Just one comment. I know there's a lot of focus on some of the stuff I vote against, but I would like to bring out some attention on some of the things I was very pleased to see on this month's agenda. One of the trainings, letters training for teachers, reading teachers, is something I was very pleased to approve tonight. Additionally, we have purchases for the elementary schools of various decodable texts. These are helping the phonics instructions, which I am ecstatic about as a parent and as a board member. So still lots of good going on here every night we're here. So appreciate it.
Go ahead. I guess first off, we're going to welcome Dr. Rumpos officially as superintendent. I'm glad that you're here and excited to continue working with you. I wanted to kind of let the board know and the community and administration, there's been a lot of confusion over the last year or so, maybe more, on what a committee is, what a committee is not. So I'm trying to take some work on myself of trying to figure that out and offer some maybe guidance or ideas to the policy committee. So I'm working on that currently, and if anybody wants to offer suggestions or feedback, let me know. But I'll be hopefully having that done soon. They go to the policy committee and then come to us for maybe some changes that maybe will help clarify some things. And then I just wanted to remind Patrick over there that he was going to say something about ACTs and was not able to go back to it. If he wants to say something now.
I just wanted to say that we are one of the few districts that offers every child in our district, public or private or parochial, a chance to take the ACT test. And that's commendable. And the board has stood behind that for the last 5 or 6 years. And not all school districts offer that for our children. And we have children say, I don't want to go to college, I want to go here, but at 20 years old they change their mind. They have that score in their file, and they're able to bring that forward and go to St. Charles Community College, Lindenwood, or wherever they want to go. And I forgot, sorry Jennifer, it's National Transportation Week. If you see your bus drivers, give them a special thanks for all that they do for our children. Now I'm done.
It's also National Principal Month, so to all the principals out there too, we thank you for your hard job. So, all right, board, I believe there's some items of information that are on the agenda that you can take a look at. Also noted is the upcoming meetings, and then I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adam and Randy? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.